All right, so are you ready for a story that's really just given people chills for decades?
Oh, yeah.
You guys asked for the Amityville Horror House, and let me tell you, this one has it all.
Yeah.
Brutal crime family fleeing in terror.
Oh, yeah.
And a house that just radiates unease.
It's true.
We've got excerpts from the account of the haunting.
Okay.
And we're going to unpack it all and figure out why this case is still just has such a grip on us.
Well, I think what's fascinating about Amityville is that it takes something we consider safe, like our homes,
right,
and just twists it into something that's scary.
Yeah.
It's not just a ghost story.
Yeah.
It makes us question, the very foundation of our security and safety.
Totally. And to grasp the terror that the Lutz family faced, we need to start with the setting. So we're talking about a quiet New York suburb.
Okay.
Picture perfect in a way that almost makes it creepier. And then there's the house itself. A sprawling Victorian mansion, the kind that looks beautiful in the daylight, but then at night, it's just a completely different.
Well, think about the typical Victorian architecture. The ornate details, the looming gables, the sense of history etched into every brick. It's almost as if those houses were designed to hold on to secrets, to whisper stories from the past.
And this house had a secret, a horrifying one.
Oh, yeah.
Before the Lutz family even considered moving in the house was the scene of a brutal mass murder.
Right.
Ronald DeFeo Jr. shot and killed his entire family.
Wow.
His parents and his 4 siblings right there in the house.
Jeez.
He claimed that something dark drove him to it.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine the sheer weight of that event?
It's like an invisible stain that permeates the very fabric of the house.
Totally.
And that brings us to the Lutz family.
Yes.
Who, in a twist of fate, straight out of a horror movie, purchased this dream home, completely unaware of the darkness lingering within its walls.
They were ready for a fresh start, excited about the space and the potential of this grand old house.
Yeah.
They had no idea what they were getting into.
Oh, no.
But pretty quickly, things started to feel off.
Oh, really?
Kathy, the mother, noticed this constant bone-chilling cold.
Oh, wow.
That just seemed to cling to the house no matter how high they turned up the heat.
Yeah.
And then the noises started.
Those unexplained noises are a classic hallmark of a haunting, aren't they? Sudden sharp sounds that just seem to come from nowhere.
Yeah.
The house creaking and groaning as though it's alive.
Right.
It's almost a primal instinct to fear the unknown.
Yeah.
And those sounds tap right into that fear.
Totally.
Have you ever heard a noise in your house that you just couldn't explain? That moment of uncertainty of wondering if you're truly alone.
Yeah.
It can send chills down your spine.
And it wasn't just bumps in the night.
Right.
The Lutz children started having these disturbing visions.
Oh, really?
Shadowy figures lurking at the edges of their vision.
Oh, wow.
Whispers that seemed to come from nowhere.
That would be scary.
Imagine being a child.
Right.
And experiencing that.
Yeah.
That'd be terrifying.
Think about the impact that would have, especially on children.
Right.
It blurs the lines between reality and imagination, creating this constant state of fear and uncertainty.
Right.
It's like living in a nightmare that you can't wake up from.
And as if the cold and the noises weren't enough, things escalated pretty dramatically.
Oh, geez.
George, the father, started acting strangely drawn to the basement, as if by an unseen force.
Wow.
One night, he looked in the mirror and saw his reflection twisted into this horrifying grimace. It was like he wasn't in control of his own body.
The basement is often seen as a place of darkness and hidden secrets.
Right.
In many cultures, it represents this connection to the primal, to the underworld.
Yeah.
It's no coincidence that so many horror stories center around basements. In this case, George's experience in the basement suggests this loss of control, a sense of being overtaken by something sinister.
Right.
It's a violation not just of his physical space, but of his very being.
It's that idea of something else having power over you, over your mind and body.
Right.
It's terrifying to think about, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And the situation just kept spiraling.
Oh, no.
One night, Kathy saw a dark figure slowly approaching her bed.
Oh, geez.
It vanished when she screamed.
Oh.
But she felt this burning sensation on her skin.
Oh, my gosh.
And the next morning, there were bruises shaped like fingerprints.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't just sounds or feelings anymore.
Right.
Something was physically attacking her.
That's where the story takes a terrifying turn.
Yeah.
It's no longer just whispers and gold spots.
Right.
But an actual physical assault by an unseen force. It raises a chilling question. What happens when the thing that haunts you can actually touch you?
Desperately seeking answers, the Lutz family called a priest to bless the house, hoping to cleanse whatever evil lingered there. The priest stepped inside and was immediately overwhelmed by this heavy, oppressive feeling like the air itself was thick with evil.
Wow.
Every time he tried to pray, the words caught in his throat.
Jeez.
Finally, as he made one last attempt, a voice boomed, "Get out!"
That moment is perhaps the most iconic in the Amityville story.
Right.
Imagine it. A priest, a figure who represents faith and protection, being driven out by an unseen force.
Yeah.
It's a stark reminder of the limitations of our understanding. The possibility that there are forces beyond our control, beyond our comprehension. It's enough to make anyone question their beliefs.
Yeah, the priest's experience, it really adds another layer to this whole mystery. If even someone devoted to faith and spiritual protection is driven away by some unseen force, it really makes you wonder what they were truly dealing with.
And it wasn't just the priest. The Lutz family, they fled the house after only 28 days.
They left most of their belongings behind.
Oh, wow.
Think about that for a second. They'd rather lose everything than spend another night in that house. That level of terror, it really speaks volumes.
Their flight really highlights just the impact these events had on them. This wasn't just discomfort. They were truly terrified. It makes you consider, what would your breaking point be? At what point would you say, enough is enough, and leave everything behind?
It's a question that gets to the heart of our own anxieties. We think of our homes as these safe havens. But what happens when that sense of security is just shattered? The Amityville Horror forces us to confront that possibility head on.
Exactly. And the fact that the house still stands today. A tangible reminder of the story. It adds another layer to this unsettling nature. People can walk past it and imagine the events that happen within its walls.
It's like a pilgrimage for those fascinated by the paranormal. A place where the veil between our world and the unknown feels particularly thin. It makes you wonder if the house itself holds some residual energy, some echo of the events that took place there.
And that brings us to the question of residual hauntings. These are often associated with places where traumatic events have occurred. Almost like an energetic imprint left on the environment. It's as if the energy of the event itself is trapped, replaying over and over again.
So in the case of the Amityville house, could it be that the violence of the DeFeo murders just somehow saturated the environment, creating this kind of haunting loop?
It's certainly a possibility. Some people believe that strong emotions, especially those associated with trauma and violence, can leave a lasting impression on a location.
But the events in the Amityville house went beyond just unexplained noises or feelings.
The
Lutz family reported seeing full-bodied apparitions, feeling physical contact, and even smelling this horrible stench of sewage that wouldn't go away.
Oh, gosh.
It's like the house itself was rejecting them.
The sensory details of the story are what make it so visceral and disturbing. The cold, the sounds, the smells, they all combine to create this truly immersive and terrifying experience. It's not just about what they saw or heard. It's about how the house made them feel on a primal level.
And let's not forget those specific details, like the swarms of flies that appeared even in the dead of winter. Flies are often associated with decay and death. Almost like a physical manifestation of the evil that seemed to permeate the house.
That's right. Those details contribute to the overall sense of dread and unease. It's as if the house itself was becoming a physical reflection of the darkness within.
And then there are the claims of demonic activity. Could it be that something malevolent attached itself to the house? Perhaps even drawn by the violence of the DeFeo murders.
Demonic hauntings, unlike residual hauntings, are often attributed to intelligent entities that have their own motivations. They are said to be capable of interacting with the physical world and manipulating those around them.
The priest's experience with the voice commanding him to leave certainly lends credence to that theory. It suggests an entity with a will of its own, something far more sinister than just a replaying of past events.
It's important to note that the belief in demonic entities varies greatly across cultures and religions. what might be seen as a demonic haunting in one context could be interpreted differently in another.
Of course, with a story like this, skepticism is bound to arise. Some people believe that the Lutz family fabricated or embellished their experiences for fame and profit. They did write a book and participate in media appearances after the events, which undoubtedly fueled speculation.
And that's where critical thinking comes in.
Right.
It's healthy to approach any paranormal account with a degree of skepticism. To weigh the evidence and consider alternative explanations.
But even if we acknowledge the possibility of exaggeration, the sheer intensity of the Lutz family's fear, their willingness to abandon their home and possessions, it suggests that something deeply unsettling occurred. It's hard to fake that level of terror.
Their account, even if taken with a grain of salt, raises questions about the nature of belief and the power of suggestion. Could their fears, even if initially rooted in something mundane, have spiraled into something much larger and more terrifying through the power of their own minds?
It's a fascinating psychological question. Could their expectations of a haunting fueled by the house's history and the stories surrounding it have influenced their perceptions and ultimately shaped their experiences?
That's the complexity of the Amityville horror. It's not a simple case with a clear answer. It's a story that blends factual events, personal accounts, psychological elements, and cultural beliefs, leaving us to grapple with the possibilities and draw our own conclusions.
It's like we see what we want to see.
Exactly.
Our minds can be incredibly powerful, especially when it comes to fear and the unknown.
Exactly. And when you factor in the power of storytelling, how the Amityville horror has been retold and reinterpreted through books and movies and just countless discussions, it's really no wonder the legend continues to grow. Each retelling adds another layer, another interpretation that further blurs the lines between fact and fiction.
It's almost like a modern day folklore. A story that we as a society just keep coming back to, reshaping and reinterpreting.
And that's what makes it so fascinating from a cultural standpoint.
The
Amityville horror isn't just a story about a haunted house. It's a reflection of our collective anxieties, our fears about the things that lurk in the shadows.
You mentioned anxieties. What do you think the Amityville horror says about our modern fears?
Well, I think it taps into a very primal fear. The fear of losing control, of our safe spaces being violated. In a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable. We crave a sense of security, especially in our homes. The Amityville horror disrupts that sense of security, reminding us that even the places that we consider most safe can be infiltrated by the unknown.
It's not just about ghosts or demons. It's about that feeling of vulnerability, that loss of control over our own environment.
Precisely. And that fear is amplified in a world where information is constantly bombarding us, where we're exposed to countless stories of real and imagined horrors. It's almost like the Amityville horror just feeds into that collective anxiety, giving it a name, a face, a location that we can point to.
It's interesting that you bring up the location, because as we mentioned earlier, the house still stands. Anyone can go and see it, touch it, stand in the very rooms where these events allegedly occurred. Do you think that physical presence adds to the power of the story?
Absolutely. It takes the story out of the realm of pure imagination and grounds it in reality. It gives the story a tangible anchor, a physical manifestation that we can interact with. It's no longer just a story we read or hear about. It's a place we can visit, a place that holds the potential for real life encounters with the unknown.
So if you were walking past the Amityville house, knowing its history, feeling that weight of the story, would you feel a chill?
Honestly, it's hard to say. As someone who studies these phenomena, I'm naturally curious. But I also recognize the power of suggestion, the way our expectations can shape our experiences. Would I feel a chill because of something genuinely paranormal? Or simply because I'm primed to expect it? It's a question that's difficult to answer definitively.
That uncertainty, that ambiguity, it's part of what keeps us coming back to these stories, isn't it?
It is.
The Amityville Horror, it's not a neat, easily explained phenomenon.
No.
It's a messy, complex story that forces us to confront the limits of our understanding.
Exactly. And perhaps that's okay.
Yeah.
Not everything needs to be explained or categorized. Sometimes the most intriguing questions are the ones that remain unanswered.
Right.
The Amityville Horror, in all its mystery and ambiguity, invites us to explore the unknown.
Yeah.
To embrace the possibility that there are things in this world that we may never fully comprehend.
Well, there you have it, our deep dive into the Amityville Horror House. A chilling tale that continues to capture our imaginations and spark debate about the nature of reality, the power of belief, and the limits of our understanding.
So what do you think? Real haunting mass hysteria or something else entirely?
Right.
Ultimately, the answer lies within each of you.
As always, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep into the mysteries that surround us.
Yeah.
Until next time, sleep tight and maybe leave the lights on.